things when I started in WFG as far as
Uh,
prospecting.
Yeah, we did some crazy things. We said some crazy things, and pathetically in some ways. And there it goes. Okay, when we hit 2000, we will start. We're at 1950 and getting ready to go. We'll let everybody else come in as they will. And bingo, we're at 2000 plus and climbing. Let's go ahead. I want to introduce my partner in this webinar, and quite a guy. Kash, how long have you been in the business?
Going on 14 years.
14 years. And Kash showed very studly tendencies very early in his career. He's a great person, a great personality. He's a man of character. He's about to become a family man. As we speak, his wife is in labor. They're doing a home birth. Her water broke this morning, and Kash is on this webinar. Now, if she was going to go to the hospital, we would have kicked him off this thing and sent him on his way. But she's just a few feet away, relatively. And Lizzie is every bit the measure of Kash, like Cindy is of me. Lizzie was a $250,000 earner before they got married. And because husband and wife, you can't stack SMDs that way. And so she rolled back. She was rolled back to MD. And even as an MD, she's over $100,000 in earnings. Their household is at 2.2 million. Couple of other important things to understand what an expert he is in the subject of personal prospecting and recruiting the easy way is he's the number one base in production in the entire company the last 12 months, got that recognition as number one. Number two in recruiting, his base shot produced rolling 12, 4.3 million points. Did you hear that? 4.3 million points. 1,200 recruits in the last 12 months and just his base shot. We've got substantial hierarchies that don't recruit 1,200, rolling 12. And I can't even begin to tell you, Kash, how proud we are of you. What a great example you set for the company, how many lives you've affected in positive ways. And you're a gift in my life and in Cindy's, and a gift to this company. And there's nobody that I could have on this call that would do a better job than what you'll do with it. And I'm grateful for you. So let's go ahead. Talking about prospecting and recruiting the easy way. I'm double clicking, right? So let's get going. The art and science of getting in and staying in a warm market. And Kash will be weighing in on this as we go. And so we start by saying, in the title, we said, prospecting, recruiting the easy way. Well, the easy way is, of course, through trust relationships. And that's what we're going to talk about here. Early in my career, about 6 months in, I had a chance to attend a training, had to fly back to Denver. My leader, the person whose base shop I was in, was there. And I received my first training on referrals, what was called the third-party referral system. From that moment forward, I became referral obsessed. I became a maniac about that. I can honestly say I've never recruited in a cold market. I've had people that have. I watched in concern for that kind of foolishness. I've had people that ran ads. We'll talk about all this stuff, and Kash has some real clear thoughts on this. But I just want to encourage you that the warm market's the way to go, and so for so many reasons. My goal for you would be, and it certainly was my goal for myself, is to have 100% of my business through referral. If you have 100% of your business through referral, you got it going. You notice that we don't do a lot of advertising in this company, right? We're not trying to get it that way. We use relationships, right? We strive to build through trust relationships. That's what a warm market is. If I met somebody cold, standing in a grocery store line, side by side at the dry cleaner, waiting for my car to be done, at a car dealership, and I'm talking to somebody else who has their car in there. I meet somebody, I'm not trying to recruit them. We'll separate that in your thoughts in a minute, because I don't have a trust relationship yet. I'm not trying to get an appointment with them because I don't have a trust relationship yet. The foundation of all good relationships is trust. Without trust, the question is, what do we have? Let's take our marriages, if we have marriages, or our good quality personal relationships, anywhere along the line, friends, in the business, whatever. From the moment the other person determines you couldn't be trusted, or my sweet wife, after we're in our 43rd year of marriage, right? For 44 years, it's interesting. We met, she said to me just a couple mornings ago, she said, in 2 years, it'll be 50 years since we met, which is just such a,
wow.
Anyway, that's special for me to be able to say. But after 43 years, being the 43rd year to marriage, she found out today I could not be trusted. Wasn't honoring our vows. I wasn't committed, right? I wasn't in, right? Then what would happen to everything else in our relationship? Respect begins to disappear. Love begins to disappear. It's like a steady leak in a tire, and you're going to have a flat tire in no time and a flat relationship, and there'll be no magic left. Without trust, we don't have much. That's why we've got to, now I'm going off a little bit of a leadership tangent. That's why we've got to build quality relationships of trust within our team, because they have got to be able to look to you for your example. They can trust you with their money. They can trust you around their relationships, their families, all of that. And so it's more important they trust you than like you. But if they tend to trust you, you'll find out that it'll end up being you'll be fairly likable. But anyway, just with that thought in mind, when it comes to recruiting and prospecting, understand trust is going to be the magic thing. That's the conduit from which all the stuff flows in successful prospecting and recruiting. Everything in your business will be improved by building in a warm market. And everything pretty much in your business will be limited if you're in a cold market. And for those of you that might be new listening to this, then I think we'll make sure we define what that is. So let me continue on this thought. And Kash, you're going to have part in this second part of this slide.
I'll say a couple of things about that last slide, Rich. So first of all, so grateful to be here, Rich, with you. We are so grateful. You have changed our lives like night and day. And you've always said if people follow you, they should have a better life. And we're just so grateful for that and just feel that sincerely from our heart. But I'm getting emotional telling you this. But going into this, trust is absolutely everything. So when we talk to our guys, we always say, when we explain our business, we say, wouldn't you agree that everyone would love to pay less taxes? They're like, yeah. They, wouldn't you agree that everyone would love to be able to grow their money? They say yes. It's like, wouldn't you agree that everybody would love to make more money? They're like, yeah. So, and I say, wouldn't you agree that everybody would love to learn those stuff from a trusted source? Nobody wants that from somebody they don't trust. So this is why this model is 100% based on trust. And it breaks down when people try to go 100% to cold and not turn it to warm. As a matter of fact, pretty much most of the bad reputation that we have, it really comes from those kind of practices that people have. They look up resumes online or they start approaching people that way. So we just want to make sure that's a big no-no. That's just something that's exactly making sure how to fail very fast. So that's my 2 cents on this one.
Brilliant. And this is from the guy that's running the #1 base shop in the company, right? And has had 1,200 recruits in his base, turn cold into warm and using warm market exclusively. And so this is a big deal. Now we're going to try and sell you on this a little bit more about why you stay in a warm market. 1, you'll build a better business, like Kash just said. You'll build it faster. I don't need to put any more on there. Better business was enough. A better business faster. That's pretty juicy. You can duplicate it. Everything about what we do, one of our areas of concentration always is that it's duplicatable, right? So that others can copy it and copy it fairly easily and fairly fast. This focuses you and us in the right market. So it's not only a warm market, we're able then, because we're not a cold, and what's the problem with the cold? You don't know anything about them. You don't really know what their background is. You don't know what their value systems are. You don't know what their economic situation. And so we're able to stay not only in a warm market, but because we know them, we approach the right people in that market, and we build on trust in the right market. That's why it's a better business. It's faster, and it gets duplicatable. Another thing, it's easier. I'm a big fan of better and easier at the same time, right? I can't trust me. I'm not a super deep person, but I pondered that one a little bit. Easier, faster, better. Yes. Slower, right? Not as good. Harder, bad. One's good, the other's bad. And so with that thought in mind, and it's more fun. And Kash, you have some thoughts here on this performance and trust grid.
Absolutely. So this is, when we talk to people early on, even when they come on board, we say, look, would you agree that every business would need unlimited clients and would need unlimited talents to grow their business? But the unlimited talents that you can, if you want to find unlimited talent for your business, unlimited clients, all of that stuff are going to be in people that you actually do not know. Not people you know. And the people you know is actually very limited. So if you just talk to people you know, you actually run out of people. So the key is to get to this unknown market that you don't know. And there's two ways to get into it. One way is directly doing cold calling and resume and so far, things of that nature, or you can get to that market through your known market, through the people you actually personally know that you trust. So, and we show them this little chart right here that they use in the military. So this side, it shows performance. Here it shows trust. And as you can see, this is basically low trust, low trust, low trust. And then as we go this way, performance, it says low performance, low performance, low performance. So as we go up, performance increases. You guys can see this. So the key is, I usually, when I talk to people, I say, which one do you want? And everyone says, yes, I want high performance, high trust. I say, okay, I agree with you, but the challenge is these are very hard to find, number one. Number two, if you were to go directly to cold, the only thing you can measure is their performance. Wouldn't you agree? You can never measure somebody's honesty, character, based on a resume. And this is the number one problem that the financial services industry has. And that's why they have the most compliance against them. It's because of this reason right here, because they recruit their talent based on performance. Warren Buffett said, you find somebody that's high performance and low trust, and that is a criminal right there. So the industry finds people this way, where the best one is right here. As a matter of fact, right here, mid performance, high trust. You should be going for that all day long. Sometimes I talk to our base shop and, I say, you guys are just like right about right here, right? Look how many policy you did last month. You did one. So you're like right here, but I'd rather have you than somebody here with high performance, low trust. So this is why it's so important to stay in the warm market. And I'll turn it back to you, Rich.
That is a great point, Kash. When you've got a person of poor character who has talent, that is the perfect definition of let's talk about low performing low trust is a petty criminal. High performing low trust is organized crime, right? And that's the difference between those two. So this guy's shoplifting and this guy's running big time Ponzi schemes, and so this is a wonderful area of emphasis that Kash went through with us here. You might be low performing, but if you're high trust, we'll build on that. And that comes from relationships. That comes from getting to know people. That comes from connecting in them. It's interesting. when I'm going to talk about 2 referrals that I got. One referral that I got years ago, back in the 80s, was a guy named Swan Nguyen. And he was referred to me by somebody on my team. And he came and sat in a Saturday morning meeting and made a decision to join. And that was a great referral. About a little over a decade later, a guy was referred to me by a guy named Rob Day, and his name's Ed Milet. And that was a good referral. And we got to know each other based on the extended trust that we had between the people that introduced us. We began to get to know each other, built a relationship of trust, and the rest is history. And there've been a lot of other good referrals. A guy named Jeff Levitan was referred to me by a wonderful guy named Greg Kapp. And so that was another good relationship. So this is, and you know what? Swan Nguyen started out low performing, but high trust. He moved to mid performing, ultimately to high performing. Ed probably started low, mid performing, mid trust. He's a wild man, and he's 24 and single. And before he had been tamed a little bit by Christiana, and I'm having some fun with this. I wish he was on the call so we could really have some fun with it. And he moved quickly to mid performing high trust and high performing high trust. And he's a prominent national figure now. And so all of this, I hope, is making sense to you, and you understand how important it is. Now let's go real fundamental. You want to build a business, maintain its performance over the long term. One of the things you've got to do is stay tight to the basics. They're called the basics for a reason. They're called fundamentals for a reason. You hear in sports constantly, whether a color commentator is talking about a tennis player, a quarterback, someone at the plate in baseball, they talk about they have good fundamentals when they're complimenting them. And that means they become consistent performers. Consistent performance requires solid fundamentals, just like in everything else. Let's talk about building a prospect list from the standpoint of solid fundamentals. Let's start with the mindset of giving versus getting. Kash, why don't you talk about this?
So this is probably one of the biggest one when we get into fast start. There's usually a lot of people go in this when they're talking to them about the business. They're selling the dream, and they're like, things are going to be awesome. You're going to be able to successful. You're going to make this much money, and you're going to have time. And they kind of have that mindset. But the moment they go into getting them fast started and start getting the list, all of a sudden it feels like the energy shifts. And all of a sudden it becomes like it feels like you're trying to get a list and you must make a call or the person's going to die and you have to get this. And the energy shifts and the person completely feels that. So the most important thing with a fast start and getting a list is to have the right mindset going into it. So I'll give you an example. What I always say is that when you bring somebody on board, when you recruit somebody on a recruiting appointment, that's when you're promising someone. In the fast start, this is where you're delivering. So you promise when you recruit, you deliver when you make a list and make calls with them. So when I go into a fast start, I say, okay, that's usually the most exciting appointments for me, because in my mindset, and I used to not have this before, I was kind of scared. I was like, I got to do this. I'm going to do the call. They want to do the call. I'll be uncomfortable. They'll be uncomfortable. We look at each other. But now the mindset is going in there. We're going to change this person's life. We're absolutely going to change this person's generation. So then we can start with goals and dreams, and it's just a complete different mindset when you go into it that way. So you go with the mindset of giving and loving and trying to change this person's life, and they feel it. And it's a lot easier that they will give you a list a lot faster because they sense that from you.
Excellent, excellent. One of the things that I use when I'm talking to somebody about a prospect list, and you begin to feel that little bit of tentativeness from people, I say, you understand, and this fits right in with what Kash is saying about giving versus getting. I reassure people. I'm quick to reassure. Look, and I let them know, look, your list is of no use to us. It'll be of use to you And it'll really get a chance for some people to absolutely change their lives, right? And their economic futures, perhaps for generations. But the reality is, this list is only useful because you know them. We don't know them. They know you, they like you, they trust you, they feel good about you. They don't know me from a fence post. And so the relationship is all yours. So I don't want you to think for a moment that we're like, can grab your list and run off and do something with it. If I wanted a list of people that didn't know me and didn't trust me, I guess I could get the Los Angeles phone book, right? That would be millions and millions and millions of phone numbers and names of people that don't know me from, you know what I'm saying? Don't know me, don't trust me, would be useless to me. That's the coldest of cold prospecting. And so so this list, we can't take it from you, right? And we certainly wouldn't even cross our minds to do so. But again, when you have that giving thought, it's great. Understand the power of the warm market in the base. And you're listening to a guy that's done 1,200 recruits in his base. And I've, in my time, had done a few recruits in my base too. And so you look at, we understand this stuff. None of this is theory. The power is in a warm market. The power is in a warm market. The magic of our business is in a warm market, right? In case you didn't get that, the power is in a warm market. I want you to get excited about doing a prospect, both if you're doing one, and two, if you're helping somebody do one. Now, why would you get excited about it? First, there's the basics of what we're trying to help them do. I'll call this lower law instruction. The difference between lower law and higher law is one is logic and pragmatic stuff, and the other one is emotion, right? That engages our hearts and our spirit. So lower law just has to do with the more non-emotional facts of what we need to do. So we talk about and define for them what a right market is. We're not going to, if you have a warm market, but they can't afford our products, couldn't join, their life's a disaster right now, whatever it might be, they're poverty stricken, that's not the right market. That'll cause, right, persistency problems. And shoot, we're not interested in them scraping together a tiny bit of money and not keeping the policy for 4 months. That's a total waste for them. It doesn't do them any good, doesn't help them. So we got to stay in the right market. We define age, marital status, household income. We emphasize they're a decent person, the character stuff. And so that defines a right market. And you've got to get in and stay in the right market. That's controlled at the prospect list level. It's also controlled at the prospecting level. So next, my objective in challenging people in my base is always to get 100 names. Now, some people say, I don't know 100 people. They probably do. Now, if they've been living under a rock and they just came out, then they don't. Then we probably want to wait for them to be out of the rock for a while, and then we put them on a back burner list and call them in a year or two. But the reality is, nobody knows 100 people well unless you are some kind of compulsive friendship builder, right? Kash is a pretty private guy. I'm a pretty private guy. It wasn't like we could come up with a list of 100 friends, but we could come up with a list of, 15, 20 people we knew pretty well, maybe 25. But then we had another 25 or 30 or what I call acquaintances, from good acquaintances to general acquaintances. And then there are people we know of, right? There's that guy at the bank we say hi to every time, this kind of stuff, the restaurant we go to, that we've connected with the owner, but they're not friends yet. But anyway, my list, when I started doing it, and I'll show you it in a minute, started with all kinds of people that I knew well. And it ended up with like the dark-haired guy at the butcher shop, and so while I was talking to the people I knew well, when I went into the butcher shop to get the steaks or whatever I was getting, don't mean to offend any of you vegetarians, and but I do eat meat in moderation. And anyway, when I was going in, I was getting to know the guy better. We've seen each other like 20 times or 10 times. How long have you been doing this? When did you start this business? And you're starting to connect without pushing an agenda, right? And that strengthens them on the prospect list. So the lower law instructions, right market, 100 names. But if I told somebody that, they don't tend to do it. They'll do some of it. They'll make sometimes a half-hearted effort. Cash, how many times have we seen that if we only give a lower law instruction? And what one of the things Cash was getting at when he talks about the mindset of giving versus getting, that spirit, to keep the spirit right, the attitude right, the energy right. He was also talking about a higher law, inspiration. And we emphasize this, and Cash, I'd like to get your thoughts on this when I'm done with this part. There are a couple of languages here. The language of helping people. That's our crusade. The language of a better life. That's our dreams. So let's say I'm talking to Cash right now about doing a prospect list. And I've talked about what the right market is. I defined that. We talked about how long we want to try and get that list. And we want to work on it and keeping it that way. But now I'm going to talk about the language of helping people. I said, understand, Cash, the average situation, and you don't know this yet. We know we're going to help you in your situation. You're going to see it live and in person for yourself. But at the same time, I want you to understand, you put 100 names on that list, probably all 100 of them have financial issues. And Cash and I have been in the business a long time. Meet in our 43rd year. Cash in your 14th, did you say?
14 year. Yeah.
And we've been into thousands of homes just between us. And how many times have we gone into a home, Cash, and everybody had their act together?
For me, less than one hand, I can count it.
Yeah, I mean, less than 5 between us.
Yeah.
5 or 10 between us. I almost burst into tears the first guy I met like that. It was like 6 years into the business. He almost made me cry because he'd done everything right. And I hugged him, and he thought it was weird. But anyway, I was leaving, but I got referrals because a guy like that is respected, right? And so I'm talking to Cash as a Cash. The average person here, we're going to put hundreds of thousands of dollars in their future, just managing the stuff they already got, not with them making more money or, just taking what they're already doing and doing it better, with better tax situation, better rates of return, safer, more protection from the downturns, this kind of stuff. And we're going to put hundreds of thousands, but lots and lots and lots of times we will put millions into their future. And the sooner we get to them, the more it's going to be. Right. And so you, Cash, are going to be the instrument of complete change in their life, because you're thinking of putting a name down and, okay, they're in the right market. Okay, this person. Oh, I'm a little nervous about talking to them. I don't want you worrying about any of that. I want you to understand that because you put their name down on this list, they're going to have a completely different economic future than they would have if you hadn't. It changes everything. Right now, you have to take my word for a little bit, but this is the way it works. This is the way it works. People like us aren't getting this help. We're left out. We're left behind by the industry. They've gravitated to the wealthy, most of them, and our passion is to reach out to the people who need the help the most, who need the understanding. So the best products in the history of our industry, in the 200-year plus history of our industry, have been designed in the last 5, 10, 15 years. And almost nobody knows about them, right? And so you putting that name down changes a life, changes it for their children, changes it for their grandchildren. How true that is, you will see. And so this is exciting what you're doing, about how much difference it's going to make, how much it's going to help them. Next, some of these people are looking for opportunity. Some of them, like me, didn't even know it. But someone started talking to me about, hey, how things going at work? Anything frustrate you there? Yeah, the politics frustrate me there. I see a lack of integrity. That frustrates me there. Me not making enough money, that frustrates me there. Why? And meanwhile, somebody asked me, how was I doing? I go, good. Everything's good, right? I had to be invited to a meeting 4 freaking times. Why? We had our act together. We're in poverty. We barely have 2 nickels to rub together. We got a couple $100 in savings, right? And our goal when we started in the business is to pay off the stupid Visa card and get a couch love seat combination. Our goal was to make $1,800. $1,800 was on the moon for us. And so all of a sudden somebody started talking to me about maybe that could change. And it's like I woke up, and I thought it could, and I finally went to a meeting and I was halfway through that meeting. I turned to Cindy. I said, if this is half true, right, this is the best thing I've ever seen. Right. And the rest is history. Less than 2.5 years later, we had $1 million in savings because a guy named Gordon De Leon put my name on a prospect list and called me a couple times, even after I turned him down. And it changed our world. By the way, it changed a lot of years too, because he wouldn't be here if he hadn't persisted. The company wouldn't exist. And so when you start talking to people about a better life, about more control, about having, getting the debt out of their life, about more peace of mind, about working with people that are excited about where they're headed, about having kind of almost an unlimited upside, these kinds of things, all of a sudden, I'm eager to do a prospect list. Kash, any thoughts on that?
So good, Rich. So good. I would say there are a couple of things I want to say here when it comes to the process of fast starting and building a list and understanding the process. And this is a good thing as far as the next webinar where Barry Ryan's going to be doing the class with Rich through selling through curiosity. The first thing I would say when you're sitting down with people, the first thing you do, you're going to ask some questions to see if there's been any negatives. We were last night listening to your podcast, Rich, with our base about early negatives. So the first thing we teach people is like when they come in to sit down with you again for their fast start, you make sure you ask some questions to see if there are any early negatives. That's number one. So you got to learn all this stuff. Then you get to this part where Rich is talking about, where you're talking about the dream and the vision and the crusade of what we do. And in addition to that, you're going to talk to them about their dreams, their goals. What do you want? What's important to you? Who are you willing to fight for? What's the thing you want? So finding out a little bit about them and I tell them, like, if you go to a gym, if you want to get a trainer, the first thing a good trainer does, finds out why you want to lose that weight. So we want to know why you're here, why you want to build a business. So as a coach, we can help you throughout the process. And usually when people start talking about their goals, their dreams, and we kind of get into it, that's the same thing they get really excited about right here. And I'll talk about this last point. And one of the things we do sometimes early on is this, that before you try to do this whole list, sometimes what Rich was talking about the crusade of our business. So sometimes some people you sit down with, they're ready to go make calls. Well, great. If they're ready, I'm ready. But a lot of times they're like, what do you guys really do? So we got to sit down and do a financial for them. So I sit down with people. I say, look, you can't really go out there and baptize people unless you've been baptized. I want to get you to a point where you're like, man, this is awesome. This is unreal. This is unbelievable. Everybody needs to know this. And once you get to that point, now the person is ready. And sometimes the first step when we sit down with people, we say, look, let me show you how this works. Okay. So think about, I want to show you how to get from your known market, the people you know, to outside. Let's get you some referrals. Let me show you how this thing works. So give me 5 names, okay? 5 people you know. The higher the trust is, the more likely it is. And all we do, we call them and say, hey, I want to show you what I'm working on. If you know somebody, send them my way. And the key is, you always, if I come to you right now and say, this pen is the best pen, you should check this out, you automatically are like, oh, thank you, I already have a pen. But if I come to you and say, look, this pen may or may not be for you, but I just want to show you what I'm working on. Maybe you can send me some people. There's no pressure. You're not hurting any relationship, none of that stuff. Now, let me show you with 5 of these guys, and I just want to get them in. We used to talk about there are 3 stages. There's a awkward stage, then there's a mechanical stage, then there's a natural stage. Everything you do, if you ever played music, in the beginning, everything's awkward, and everybody wants to quit during the awkward stage. Then they go to the mechanical stage. They kind of say it, they know a little bit, and then eventually they playing the music and as they're just having fun. So the key is for us to get you from awkward to mechanical. So be okay with it being awkward. So letting people know about those feelings is actually so important. So this is kind of, I say, you go on a first date before you ask them to marry you, because opening up that whole list is sometimes people, maybe if you haven't especially built enough trust, they might not want to do that. But if you go do 2 of these things with them and they get results, and you show them how awesome it is, how fun it is, how everybody's so they have a great experience. Everybody's like, man, this is great. They're asking a lot of great questions. They're learning. Then we have no problem coming back and actually getting a full 100 list and talking about how we're going to change these people's lives. So that's my comments on this one, Rich.
Okay, that's good stuff. First date. Yeah. I saw I didn't see it. I saw it advertised, some reality show where they meet and then they get married. Yeah. The reality shows they started at a single digit IQ and they seem to go down from there. And if you're going to meet somebody and then get married, I think you just went to 0 IQ. Obviously, it's just for show. Anyhow, good stuff. And again, it's so good having Kash on. That's why I wanted him on. You know, no one's better in our organization at understanding this stuff. He understands the human nature stuff, and it's cool. Now I'm going to just take you a quick walk down memory lane, and let's talk about something. Years ago, I had a very frustrated SMD. He had a handful of people. They all said they'd run out of people to talk to. And he sat down, he stayed up all night. He had called an emergency meeting at Saturday morning at his house. They're going to have a pancake breakfast together. And his wife are going to prepare it. And he's going to get 10 or 11 or 12 people there. And he did. But he stayed up all night thinking of everything he could think of that could trigger a name. Now, the original memory jogger was longer than this because I actually had to screen a few things he'd put on there that I didn't want people saying to our people. You know, I have no idea. He's a good Christian guy, why he put a couple of the things on there. But anyway, we cleaned that up. But if somebody actually went through every one of these things and it triggered names, and it sometimes thinking of a name reminds you of another name, and you end up with a pretty substantial list. It's a great tool, but it's underutilized. I'm going to say it again. It's a great tool, but it's underutilized. This tool transformed our process years ago in making this happen. By the way, a couple of you asked questions. Is this being recorded? Yes. Will it be available? Yes. All that will be a part of it. One of you asked, how do you turn cold into warm? We're coming to that. But let's go ahead. That can help you build the prospect list. Now, this is the one that was my first prospect list. I still have it. It's under glass here in my office at home. I remember who Wayne Starr is. I remember who John Heenan was. I remember who Frank Fantozzi is. And, I knew these guys. Carolyn Cross was the women's gymnastics coach at San Jose State. Larry Livers, assistant track coach, right? Vicky Kerr was a referral. Dave Thawley was my brother. Jerry Callens I knew from working at San Jose State. Same with Wynn Cook. And so it's interesting. All these people, right, are on here. I did this with my wife on our drive to my 10-year high school reunion. It was a 2-hour drive. We did part of it on the way up, the rest of it on the way back. She typed it. You notice a few handwritten names. This built a company. And so I understand the power of a prospect list and of actually doing the work. Why did it end up this long? Because I was told a good list had 100 names. So don't sell it short. If you tell them 100 names, they do 78, that's a win. If you told them 25, they're going to do 20, right? So raise an expectation and build a decent list. Now, let's talk about building your natural market. Here we go, Kash. Here's the fun stuff, right? This is an ongoing process. You are going to learn to get outside of yourself. I was a shy person, and I was even more, by the time I started business, I was more private than I was shy. Though I have a shyness also, still do. You move me into a big crowd, I am not by nature social, right? I mean, I look at Ed, and I'm kind of awestruck by it. He loves that. I hate being a celebrity. Hate it. And and it doesn't make him bad or him better or me bad or me better. It's just two different personalities, more style. But there are more people like me than there are like those super outgoing, gregarious person that, everybody had one in a class in school where he kept getting in trouble with the teacher because he kept talking and kept interrupting. And finally they send him to the office or something, or go make him stand in the corner. And that never happened to me. Right. So it's interesting. You want to have a dynamic growing prospect list. You need a continuous flow in and out. Your goal, listen to me now. We've got how many people on this call right now? Let me check.
4,500.
40. It's 4,494 right this second. Right. So let's get rid of that. Went up to 496 before I could stop. Anyway, what should your goal be? If you want to build it, if you really want to be a player here, you want really good things to happen for you in your business, you should be averaging 2 recruits a month personally. Your goal should be 25 a year. That's one of the magic numbers of our business, right? And so your prospect list is going to be a continuous thing. And so you have a continuous flow in and out. Maintaining and maintaining a prospect list, you need to make it a way of life. And you learn through practice. Don't worry, you're not great at this at the beginning. Let that go. Let that go. Yeah, right? Crawl before you walk before you run. And then it's going to be fine. Then you improve your running techniques to run fast. So you're going to learn through practice. And so, again, I emphasize, you want to have a dynamic growing prospect list. It isn't something you do once at the beginning. It is a continuous flow of people in and people out as you talk to them. You're going to make it a way of life, being pleasant and sociable, which, by the way, is one of the most rewarding gifts this business has given me. I can make a connection with people easily. Kash, I'm sure it's the same for you.
Yes.
And I'll see somebody next to us at a table. It was a natural thing to say hi to them. And where are you from? And next thing you know, I was standing in a store at the airport, getting ready to connect to somewhere. And there's a really nice young mother with a little guy who's really excited. And I turned to her and we were both getting the waters. And I said, "How goes motherhood?" And she goes, it's pretty busy. So where are you guys headed? We're headed to North Carolina. He's meeting his grandfather. I said, "You're meeting your grandfather?" And he says, "Yeah, and we're going fishing." And I crouched down a little bit so I could be at his level. "Are you excited about seeing your grandpa?" "I'm a grandpa. I know I'd sure be excited to see you if you were my grandson. And I'd love to take you fishing too. That's great." And he said, "I can't wait, and we, the mom and I just exchanged a few pleasantries. I'll never see him again. I wasn't trying to prospect him. I just connected, had a great 2 or 3 minutes with him, and we both went on our ways to opposite directions of the country." But you know what? I remember it fondly. That's why I'm talking about it right now. Just happened a few weeks ago. And so I made it a way of life to be pleasant. Now, what if I said, "How goes motherhood?" Fine. I wouldn't have bothered her again, right? I'm not looking to be a pain. And by the way, I stand back from them physically. I don't want to be in their space. I can be pleasant, an extra step back, and because I don't want anybody to be uncomfortable. You learn through practice. That's one of the things I've learned. Let's talk about making practice fun. One of the big challenges is that we don't understand, or a new person or our leaders, some of you that are on this call listening right now, haven't made this clear. You've got to be clear on it. They've got to be clear on it. There are 3 things we're looking to do, and it starts with prospecting. All prospecting is making a connection, making a positive impression, getting a number. Making a connection, a positive impression through that connection, and hand them the phone and say, "You know what? I'd love to talk to you again. You connected over something. You both play golf. Didn't connect with a lot of you. You like some of this same stuff. You work in a similar area. There could be 1,000 things I could talk about, right? Your neighbors. I love to, it's good to get to know neighbors, and And I just hand them my phone, say, put your name and number in here. And then when they're done, I put notes in the notes section. And I put the letters P, capital L, after their last name. That way, if I type in PL, my whole list comes up alphabetically, right? I have 2,800 names currently on my prospect list. 2,800 names. I'm not even in the base shop business anymore, but I still prospect. Now, here's the point I want to make. Prospecting is prospecting. It's not inviting or appointment setting. It's certainly not recruiting. It's only prospecting. It's only connecting. If you're standing there in a grocery store line and talking to somebody, do you shop here at Whole Foods very often? Yeah, I love this place. So do I. My wife got me coming here. Now I hardly go anywhere else. Are you from this area? And off you go, just connecting with somebody. Now, if you tried to talk to them and they didn't want to be talked to, what are you doing? Just stop bothering them. There's closing on 8 billion people on the planet. You don't need that one, right? That guy you may get later because he's just having an off day, doesn't feel like talking now. Or he may be a hermit and you don't want to beat your head against the wall. It's not fun. Remember, we talked about making it fun. You're connecting with people who want to connect. You're connecting with pleasant people who are pleasant people. You're being a pleasant person. They're being pleasant back. This is fun to do. Now, sometimes I don't have enough time, but I still practice my connecting. It's not going to go to a number. I just made it, as it said on the previous slide, a way of life, a pleasant way of life to be sociable to people. Sometimes I'm connecting with somebody who's not in our market. They're not in the right market. I know it. I'm not going to turn it into a phone number, right? I'm just being kind, pleasant, respectful. I don't know what respectful is, but it's respectful. And I'm just making a positive impression. Go around doing that and watch how it uplifts your life, right? Beats being a grump, that's for sure. I tried that, did plenty of that, did several years of that. Certainly couldn't have built a business with it. So understand, separate this in your mind. Prospecting is just connecting, making a positive impression, getting a number. And it's easy to ask for. If it's weird. Now, if you're a guy, like Kash 8 years ago, pretty cool dude, bachelor lifestyle, and and he's talking to a young woman and he stands a little too close. Hey, how about giving me your number? What a jerk, right? That wouldn't work. That's not something you want to do, right? That's creepy. Please separate creepy from your mind versus making a positive impression, right? And keep this under control. Next, the third part is inviting. Second part's inviting, where you should intrigue them and arrange to meet. That's after you've gotten the number. Talk to them maybe once or twice. And then in the natural part of the conversation, they're going to ask you about what you're doing, and you're ready to give a succinct, not thorough, but succinct, excited response that intrigues them and say, well, that sounds interesting. I said, I'd be glad to talk to you about it. All right, no strings attached. I love what I do, and I promise not to wear you out. And you set a time, and now you're talking about the business. Now we're inviting to hear more about it, moving forward. And now we're into the recruiting phase where we're presenting the opportunity. But just get it in your head. These are three separate things. And when you separate them, it has power. Any thoughts on that?
So good. So one of the things I would say, one of the things we talk about instead of prospect, we just call it making friend. Because one of the things I found out, a lot of times, a lot of the challenges most people have is actually mindset and thinking, because all our life we've been making friends. This is nothing new. Now, all of a sudden, it's not like we're like just learning how to make friends, which some people maybe are. But if you just make it, we just call it making friends. So when I'm talking to our guys, I say, how many friends did you make today? So just think about how much fun that day that is, instead of saying how many prospects that you got. And one of the affirmation that I've used is that strangers are only friends that I've not met yet. Strangers are only friends that I've not met yet. And I used to say that over and over because I learned that successful people, see, all of our parents told us, hey, do not talk to strangers, do not talk to strangers. And then now we get into this business and we're like, all right, go talk to strangers, they're only friends, right? So, so, well, one of the things that successful people do, they teach their kids to actually go out there and make friends. I remember Greg Cap talking to his grandson every time they would go on a cruise, and he would tell him, hey, for every friend you're going to make, I'm going to give you $1. So this is something that you want to even teach your kids. So some of you guys who are not good at this, you need to get good at making friends, because that's a skill required to be successful in business. Now, I was very shy. I was an engineer. Almost all of our best people in the business always been shy. Okay, and I didn't know anybody, but I learned just the art of making friends. So I just wanted to say that. And one thing I would say, for those of you guys who pray, one of the things I do, I always pray and I say, God, you know who needs this, put them in front of me and I'll talk to them and I'll help them. So when I meet somebody, now it's a different meaning to me. Just for me, it means, oh, God put this person in front of me so I can change their life. They probably prayed for this. So now when I approach them is a way different thinking, and it's all about helping instead of getting number or anything like that. And I really don't have an outcome when I talk to people. I just want to get to know them, and if there's any way I can help them. And that's it. So I'll turn it back to you on that one.
And that's how you turn cold into warm. Classic. So to re-emphasize these things that Kash are teaching all of us, don't worry about the outcome. Just talk to people. Be sincerely interested. This is what good people do for each other, right? Ask questions, situation appropriate, of course, right? You're not going to ask too personal a question or this kind of thing. But you can ask about family. You can ask about their interests. You ask what they do. What do they like? What do you like best about that? You work at Apple. What do you do for them? What's it like working at Apple? Whatever it might be, right? Be a good listener. Stay relaxed. Don't be like all jittery, bouncing around, because this is an enjoyable situation. Again, when you're not worrying about the outcome, it's easy to stay relaxed. You're connecting with people. And then, as you go through the flow of life, you might ask if you have a card, or you give me your number, and we ought to get together. There's a time and a place. You've had a good connection. When you've got a good connection. And they go, yeah, I would like to talk again. Right? Then I drop them a text afterwards and let them know I enjoyed meeting them, and we go from there. But I actively work when I'm building the business and I'm personally recruiting. This is what I do, right? Best advice. Don't try too hard. Don't try too hard. Okay. This is what makes the business unpleasant for new people. They think, I got to recruit this guy. They told me I got to recruit people. Oh my gosh, I got 38 seconds here. I better get started on the presentation. And their head explodes, right? Or they actually try and do that, and the other person's head explodes. It's like that goofy movie years ago called Mars Attacks. And we're not vampires. We're not going for the neck. So let's go. What do you do for a living? I'm going to just give a few thoughts here. Kind of help organize your thinking. We are in financial services, the insurance and investment industry. I've never been coy about it, never been uncomfortable talking about it. I love our industry. I love the good we do. But here's what I talk about, some of these things, and you can have yours. Your leaders have theirs. Go with it. Get coaching. But the point I'm going to make here is you got to have some bullet points in your head that you're going to talk about. I'm in one of the few companies focused on working at the family level left in our country. That's true. One of the few companies focused on working at the family level, the average middle-class family, right? It used to be everybody used to show up at people's homes. Now it's like doctors. Do doctors make house calls anymore? No, neither does our industry. But we do, right? I love working with people who need help the most. That's one of my things that I love saying about what we do. I love working with people who need the help the most. Fires me up, makes me feel like I'm doing something really important because I am, right? And it keeps me excited because we're saving people. All right. It's like having a life raft concession at a beach with a riptide. right? It's going to be valuable. Lots of people are going to need your help. And I talk about the company doing extremely well, which we are. We continue to set records. One of the most dramatic success stories in our entire industry. You heard at the convention how we set a new record in producing six-figure earners last year. I mean, we're just about at a pace we're going to start producing $1 million earner every week or two. I mean, it's just, we see this happening and it's exciting to be around. You know, I just heard Daniel Fambo's about to crack 5 million. Unbelievable. Guy's been in the business he's had a license 4.5 years. Woo. Anyhow, I love this stuff, right? It's one of the most dramatic success stories in the industry. I think we'll be the Amazon of financial services. I like that line. It's fun. So I love building a business and doing something I believe in so much. There have been so many times where I prospected or I've already prospected. Now I'm standing with a person and they're asking about it. And I just throw this stuff out, how much I love it. And then I walk away from them. And you'll be amazed at how fast they'll keep moving. All right, let's talk in about just a minute for getting the appointment. You're having a friendly follow-up contact. Your thoughts are organized about what you want to say, like what I just had there, right? You're going to strengthen a relationship. You're going to 80% of your time in a follow-up is continuing to BRT, build the relationship of trust, right? That's what you do. Show you love what you do. Continue to build that relationship of trust. When people ask too much about what I do, and I don't want to talk that much about it now because this isn't a presentation, I deflect it and go back to what they do, about their life, about what they're doing. How do you think the Niners are going to be this year? How do you think the Rams are going to be this year? I'm covering Kash and me, right? North and Southern California. And and we always have things to talk about. What are your children involved in? What sports they playing? What else are they doing? How did you meet your wife? I mean, it's just fun stuff to talk about that and interact like people who are building a friendship. Kash, talk about approaching the conversation from their perspective.
So this is just always see it from their perspective. So let's just say, for example, if I meet somebody and they have a solar business and I met them the first time, the second time I'm contacting them, say, hey, we got to get together. I come across a lot of people. I might be able to send you some people. Let's build a relationship. So if you always see every person in the world, they want something at the time. And if you be the person that can help them with that, and there's a great book it's called The Go-Giver. Instead of being a go-getter, be a go-giver. So if you become a go-giver and try to help people solve their problem and make a friend, getting an appointment is just so easy. Not talking about what you want to do and they should check this out. You talk to them about what they want, and it's always better that way. So
always better that way. You're getting their world, right? Not me. Right? We live in an era of self-promotion in social media, right? And the power of humility and modesty seems to be drifting away as virtues. Anyway, keep it simple and brief. This is not a presentation. You've connected, you're talking to them, it's live or in person or on Zoom, and you're just setting a time where you can talk to them. And it's like, I'm going to ask you these questions, right? About it. What do you love most about your business? Right? About what we do, about our opportunity. What do you love most about it? These are things that I have at my tip of my tongue, right? We shared some of them already. What we love about what we do, helping people that need it the most, right? Being around people being in a company that's on the move, having leadership that I trust, right? Being mentored by real success stories in our industry, and the availability of that to lots of people is it changed my world. I've watched it change the world of thousands of others. I dig this stuff, right? But you're going to become an appointment maniac. You're going to become a connection maniac and then an appointment maniac. If you don't like the word maniac, you're going to become a connection expert or a connection lover and an appointment making lover, right? And you're going to love doing it. It's fun to do. It's relatively easy to do. And we're going to continue to do this. Kash, you and I are going to do a podcast for straight line thinkers on this stuff. We're going to get that done by next week and get that out there. So come back to this. It's time to show your conviction. That's when you do it. Conviction about what we do, conviction about our opportunity, not imposing it on them, right? But you're just sharing it from a neutral standpoint of why you believe, and then you're in their world, and they're telling you whether they're going to be interested or not, by how they respond, what's going on in their life. Now, this is easier than you think, and we're going to pick this pace up a little bit. You drop me anywhere, you drop Kash anywhere, we have the right mentality, all right? And here's the right mentality. Do the people need our help? Yes. Do people need our opportunity? Yes. Do you want to make a difference? Yes. Do you want a better life? Yes. That's the right mentality, right? And so when I'm working with people, do they need my help, right? I love Kash praying over it. Please, Lord, put people in my way that need my help, right? And we know how powerful this opportunity can be, what we teach can be, how much difference it makes, right? It makes a better life for them. Our association with them makes a better life for us and our families and those that we love. And that's the right mentality. So you drop us anywhere, that's us. That's Kash parachuting in to Cleveland, all right, where he doesn't know anybody, from SoCal, and he's coming in with the right mentality, and he's got a build new friends habit. So you let that guy loose in a community for a month or two, he will have literally 200 or 300 names of people he's connected with. Get good at this stuff. Get good at it. Last time I did this, came to a new community, didn't know anybody, went out with my son-in-law, who was working in the business with me for the first time. And a little less than 6 weeks later, we had 270 names of good quality prospects that we connected with, that we were following up. And that allowed us to recruit 600 people over the next 12 months.
Wow.
Right. So this is what works. This is what works. Now, one other tip, the secret of personal recruiting long-term, because we get busy. Kash is busy. He doesn't have a lot of time to roam around, right? Like he did early on. I believe this is the ultimate personal recruiting game plan. Let others do your prospecting and they will come to you, right? So what does that mean? As we go in the business, all of you that are listening now, as you go in the business, and we're going to go a few minutes over here, not too much longer, and this is going to happen. You're going to have people, the timing's not right. The timing's not right. And yet they're right for the business and you have a good connection with them. You're going to build a back burner list. You're just going to build that list. You're going to keep adding people to it. These are people you'll make regular contact with over the months and next few years ahead, and the timing will get right for some of them. And either way, you'll add friendships to your life, which is always enriching. But build a back burner list. Those are people you recruit later. Man, I wish I could do this right. I'm swamped with a project. They're going to send me overseas for 3 months. It's that kind of thing. It's just not right. Back burner list. Keep contact. How's it going over there? What are you doing? Now you're not talking about the business. You're just connecting with them. Next, right? Who? I already described it. Building a center of influence list. This is the biggest one. We have all kinds of people come through our Zoom meetings, come through our offices, that like what they see. There are all kinds of people, we'll call them COI, center of influence, that we prospect, we meet. They're successful. I got friends that are all kinds of successful. And guess what? They have respect in their communities. And they like me. I like them. They looked at the company, right? They didn't need and weren't looking for a change. Their life was rocking, right? All kinds of different reasons. They could be way up in companies, having paid the price over 22 years to get there. They've got 6 kids, 3 of them are in college, 3 more are headed there. They're not looking to drop. They've got all kinds of responsibilities in other ways, but they liked you. They liked what they saw. They wished it was 20 years ago for them. They'd rather become successful in this. But these people have a wonderful sphere of influence in their world, in their churches, in their neighborhoods, in their communities. People look up to them. They're good people. right? You want to build a list of these people and you make regular contact with them, right? This is who you're working off. Quality people, quality markets, reasonable success stories. And how you use it? How do you use this list? You're going to, every week, you're going to make a few of these calls. You don't bother them more than every 2 or 3 months. Because how's it going? And you report some good news about the team, good news about the company. Kash would say, I don't mean to brag about this, but we worked hard for this. We were the number one team, base shop team in production in our entire company, US and Canada, right? The last 12 months. That would be good news. A milestone reached. I just produced my 23rd six-figure earner. There's always good news to share. We just helped some families almost more than anything I'd ever seen before this last few weeks. There's always things you can talk about. The company's doing this. We just got a new CEO. Just lots of good things going on. And you share that. Meanwhile, you're going specific. I'm still looking for good people. And these people will start referring. They'll think of you. And when you call them, they go, I was talking to a guy and that at a backyard barbecue, the guy's frustrated where it works, and you came to mind. I'm sorry I didn't call you. That's okay. I'm talking to you now. Let's make connection. Call that guy and tell him I'm going to make contact with him. And people referred people to me constantly. So I could maintain my 25 a year recruiting pace without having to go anywhere. Just off calling my COI list every month, my back burner list with some regularity, and we just kept rocking. Meanwhile, I would meet people and connect. All of this took pressure off. It was easy to end up with that many recruits. Use this, right? Build a back burner list, build a center of influence list, keep contact with them. Now, if you talk to a center of influence and you kind of bothering them, take them off the list. Don't worry about it. Stop bothering them. But a lot of them make contact. Good people like good people, and good people like to help people, right? And that works. All right. This is a total game changer if you will use this. And for those of you that are going to be here a while, this is big time when you start using this. Any thoughts on this, Kash? Are we ready to go to the next one?
This is just so good. Let's go to the next one. This is so good.
Okay. Let's talk about the use of social media, right? I want you, Kash, I want you to go through this.
Sounds good. So basically, let's talk social media now. So basically, the main thing when you look at social media, you got to look at social media as like Instagram, Facebook. You just got to look at it as basically your virtual resume. So when people, most of the times, I know now sometimes when I meet with somebody, I say, hey, I just go there and maybe they follow me, or I just kind of see their profile, because it is literally, especially for business people, like if you're a business person and then they kind of go there and you're like, let's say in your 30s and you're not there. It not depends on how I met you. If I meet you in the middle of the street and I look you up and you don't have anything, it's kind of like, who's this guy? But especially in the cold market, okay, especially when you're meeting people and you're making friends and nobody's introducing you. So having this virtual resume is good to have. Let's just put it this way. Now, we don't use social media, I would say, like crazy to recruit people, but this is a very important. I actually just recruited somebody yesterday from it, but I'll tell you how that happened. So first of all, when you go on there, you got to decide what your brand is, who you are, who you are. Are you a family man? What do you like helping people, for example? Do you have charities? What are some of your interests? And then as you're posting, you just post normal stuff. Here's what you don't do. Hey, I just joined this business. I'm looking for people. That would be the worst thing to do. Or you put a flyer on and be like, hey, if you have this event, come to it. Those things are not necessarily good, because remember this. That's why I'm saying this business is all mindset and human nature. See, people want things that are rare, and you got to be able to help people pick their curiosity. You see, there's enough diamond in the world to have a cup half full. And for every human being that lives in the world, there's enough diamond for every person to have a cup half full. Now, why are diamonds so expensive? Because they hold the supply. So it's rare. Not everybody have access to it. So this is what you want. So you don't want to go in there on a platform, hey, free education for everybody. Anytime you do anything like that, it's automatically a big no-no. People are like, oh, it's free. It's probably not good. Probably they want to sell something. They're immediately skeptical. So you got to make sure you really stay away from trying. Now, it's a different thing if you have an event that's coming up. It's a big event and you have a teaser on it, than going in there and inviting people for free to come to it. Does that make sense? So make sure when you're doing social media, as you're posting, maybe you have one business, you have 2 or 3 family. So you might have a picture, whatever, things that you want your cousin to see, okay? Maybe it's you and your family sitting there and you had a picture, okay? So, and you can be actually conscious about it, because they come in and see your picture with you and your family, immediately they trust you a little bit more. Like the guy who's single is a little bit less trustworthy than the guy who has a picture with his wife and his kid. You're like, it's silly, but that's what it is. Okay? They could be a serial killer, but that's just people look at it and they look at it, they're like, okay, this guy at least has kids. And then you put the stuff that you like fishing. You go one time fishing. It's your life. Now you don't put picture of your food and put it in there, and not silly stuff like that. I'm talking about that stuff, right, Rich? But it's just general stuff about your life you can put in there. Stay away from like fake show off, or you trying to be too motivational, or you trying to be Ed Milet when you're not one. It's different if you share somebody else's message and like, man, I just heard this thing. But it's okay to share your life. And, the best thing, whether it's outside of social media or inside social media, I heard one of you guys asked the question, the fact that you're not maybe outgoing and things of that nature. How do you go meet people? It's very simple. Find what it is you love to do that you don't consider work, that you would naturally do. Like, for example, if you like going for a hike on Sunday, well, you can join a hiking group and actually go on a hike and you can meet people. But there's also on social media, there are hiking groups that you can actually join and make friends. Don't go there to recruit people. Don't go there to make a friend about hiking that ultimately at some point can become a prospect. And I got to tell you one thing about that is that these relationships that you actually make are going to be the greatest rewards that you actually get from our business. I was talking to Rich the other day. We watched the movie Elvis, and Rich called us and we were having a conversation. And because we were talking about Rich in that movie, because you looked at his life, and at the end of his life, he had everything, but he didn't have anybody who loved them. He had all these people who loved them outside, but not his close family. He didn't have that love and relationship. And we've been blessed because of Rich and Tony and a lot of these guys that we got mentorship from, that we understand that at the end of our life, the only thing that matters is the people we love, how much we love them, how much they loved us, and the quality of relationship that we had. And that's true wealth. And you're going to get this true wealth here. I met my best friend in this business, all my groomsmen and my best man in my weddings. I met them here in the business. All of our mentors, our family, they were all stranger at some point. So it's exciting to know that you're going to meet some of your best friends. So I'll turn it back to you, Rich.
So just to reemphasize, use social media for your brand to represent yourself. I love that virtual resume thought. Not that you're going to, don't just super promote yourself. It's weird. It comes off as awkward and, like you said, unauthentic and fake and showing off. And it's just shallow, right? It doesn't represent strength of character well. And you don't want to be doing it that way. All our great builders, none of our great builders do it that way. None of our great builders do it that way. But they do use social media. Yeah, they have their representation on there because they know people are going to start Googling them the minute they start talking to them practically. But the next thing is they use it to recognize their people. This one just reached their $100,000 ring in our business. This one just cracked $1 million. This one did this. This one just earned their promotion. And they're constantly, acknowledging their people. That is an appropriate use. All right, let's finish up. I want to reemphasize, our podcast platform. for this grand business platform of ours, right? I just want you see, we got to reprogram. We got to learn to think bigger. We got to gain insight into the business. You need to be exposed to the most visionary people in the company. Hear what they do, how they think, like we've been doing with Kash right here in this webinar, right? That's why I'm going to make sure we put this to the podcast platform. It's specific content to this business platform and our way of doing things. It's the only podcast system in the world, the only podcast list that is specifically for our business, for our company, for our people, by our people, the people that are the best at it, right? Make this investment in yourself, right? And it's not just $4.99 a month, but we don't give it away because I want you to think it's valuable, right? Because it is rare. Now, it's the time you've got to invest in yourself too. Listen to these things as you drive. Don't be rocking out, or if you're going to rock out listening to our leaders who are like doing immense things. The people who have insight. And it isn't free because I don't want to give it away. You know, Ed Milet mentioned at the convention, his is free. Well, of course his is free because he uses that as a loss leader to put people in his company to be mentored by him at much higher prices than this. Front row seat for 10 grand. And so I'm not criticizing that. I understand that's the business, like Tony Robbins. Anymore than I criticize Tony Robbins for doing it, right? Ed's good at that stuff. But I'm not giving it away because I want you to have skin in the game. I want it to mean something to you, you know, and so go to straightlinethinkers.com. If you haven't registered, register. $4.99 a month. We'll lower it to $2.99 by next month, by September. So meanwhile, is it worth an extra $2 to you to get started now? It should be. We have new episodes every week. We do current stuff. Listen to my business breakthroughs. Those episodes available now. We have WFG Leaders are recording. Those episodes will soon be released. And Kash, what's your thought on this?
This is so good. Last night, we like I was saying earlier, we got on our call with our base shop and we looked at anybody who wasn't registered. I said, you got to register. And then now going forward, like last night, we did one audio session and we're having everybody on it. It's just go. I wish we had this stuff when we got started in the business. It's unreal we have this information. Seriously, to have Rich Dolly in your pocket and you can listen to it anytime you're down, it's crazy. I remember first when Rich started doing conference calls and how big of a deal that was. And we would recruit people just based on the conference call and be like, here, this guy. This guy's in charge, right? Look how awesome he is. And then we would just, that was those old conference calls, Rich. But this is unreal. And the only thing I would tell you also, all the WFG leaders, whether it's Raja, any of these guys, I got to say this, Rich, there's right now so many people talking to people about Bitcoin and stuff like this, that they have like social media. Like I have like 5 social media apparently now. And I know Eric has a bunch, Raja. We will never talk to you about Bitcoin. Does that make sense? So do not ever fall for anybody in WFG. Nobody will ever talk to you about that. I just had to say that because I've seen so many of them. Raja has a bunch right now, Rich, talking to people. It's just crazy. But this is just absolutely awesome. Thank you so much, Rich, for doing this. This is a big deal. Big deal.
Next webinar, and Kash and I are big fans of this, how we are becoming the best training company in the world. I'll be doing that with Barry Ryan on the journey, right? The agent journey through curiosity. Right, that was just announced at the convention. This will help us be seriously the best training company in the world. We will help our people develop faster, better, clearer understandings. A lot of straight line thinking. I'm gonna get a lot of Barry stuff on our podcast system also. And so, but we're gonna reemphasize it, spend an hour on it, and we've gone over today. Thank you for over 4,000 of you hanging in here with us. And as we taught this, because this is really important stuff. And stay to the fundamentals, right? Prospect and recruit the easy way. Go make friends and set appointments and recruit the easy way, right? And enjoy this business more. And even us shy private folks can build it big here because 2 of them are right now are living proof of it, and Kash and I. All right, Kash, thank you for being a part of this.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rich. Some people were asking, where did it go to get the podcast? Is straightlinethinkers.com once again. So get that. And thank you so much, Rich, for doing these calls for all of us. So we're forever grateful.
All right. Thanks, Kash. Go take care of you have a son that's coming here in the next.
Any second.
Yeah. And so, all right.
All right.
Incredible. All right. I love you, man. Thanks for being in business with me. And all of you, thank you for being in business with us. We respect you. We appreciate you. We're grateful for you. And we look forward to traveling in this great, great journey to help people in our countries and it being ongoing and us helping millions of people. We got a great work to do.